Howdy, y'all. It's Reese, aka Bearman Prime, on this April 20th. Welcome back to my Read the Bible in a Year series. Thank you again for joining me. God bless you all. Card at the top right hand corner for the rest of the playlist, and please hit the like button, the subscribe button, and that notification bell so you stay caught up. So, yesterday we saw the big showdown between the prophet of the Lord, Elijah, versus the army of prophets of the god Baal, who were basically running the nation of Israel. Israel at this time was in the middle of a great famine after God withheld rain from them. So they just were under oppressive heat. There was no water to be found anywhere. And so we had these two altars and these two sacrifices, and the task was to see which God would light the fire and accept the sacrifices. So he had the prophets of Baal who were doing all this ritualistic stuff. They were cutting themselves, trying to show their devotion to their God. They were pleading and dancing and crying and jumping and doing all these crazy things, but nothing happened. And then Elijah simply takes a sacrifice. He gives thanks and puts it on the altar. He douses it with water, so it should have been impossible to burn. And fire comes from heaven and just incinerates it. Just proving to the people of Israel and reminding us that there is no God except the Lord. All right. So let's see what happens now. Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 19 today, starting in verse 1. King Ahab told Jezebel everything that Elijah did and how Elijah had killed all the prophets of Baal with a sword. So Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah and said, "I swear that by this time tomorrow, you will be just as dead as those prophets. If I don't succeed, may the gods do the same or worse to me." When Elijah heard this, he was afraid, so he ran away to save his life. He took his servant with him, and they went to Beersheba in Judah. Then Elijah left his servant in Beersheba and walked for a whole day into the desert. Then he sat down under a bush and asked to die. He said, "I have had enough, Lord. Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors." Then Elijah lay down under the bush and went to sleep. An angel came to him and touched him. The angel said, "Get up and eat." Elijah looked around, and by his head there was a cake that had been baked over coals and a jar of water. He ate and drank, then went back to sleep. Then the Lord's angel came to him again, touched him, and said, "Get up and eat. If you don't, you will not be strong enough to make the long trip." So Elijah got up. He ate and drank and felt strong. Then Elijah walked for 40 days and nights to Mount Horeb, the mountain of God. There Elijah went into a cave and spent the night. Then the Lord said to him, "Elijah, why are you here?" Elijah answered, "Lord God all-powerful, I have always served you the best I can, but the Israelites have broken their agreement with you. They destroyed your altars and killed your prophets. I am the only prophet left alive, and now they are trying to kill me." Then the Lord said to Elijah, "Go, stand in front of me on the mountain. I, the Lord, will pass by you." Then a very strong wind blew. The wind caused the mountains to break apart. It broke large rocks in front of the Lord. But that wind was not the Lord. After that wind, there was an earthquake. But that earthquake was not the Lord. After the earthquake, there was a fire. But that fire was not the Lord. After the fire, there was a quiet, gentle voice. When Elijah heard the voice, he used his coat to cover his face and went to the entrance of the cave and stood there. Then a voice said to him, "Elijah, why are you here?" Elijah said, "Lord God all-powerful, I have always served you the best that I can, but the Israelites broke their agreement with you. They destroyed your altars and killed your prophets. I am the only prophet left alive, and now they are trying to kill me." The Lord said, "Go back. Take the road that leads to the desert around Damascus. Go into Damascus and anoint Hazael as king over Aram. Then anoint Jehu, son of Nimshi, as king over Israel. Next, anoint Elisha, son of Shaphat, from Abel Meholah. He will be the prophet who takes your place. Jehu will kill anyone who escapes Hazael's sword, and Elisha will kill anyone who escapes from Jehu's sword. I still have 7,000 people in Israel who have never bowed down to Baal or kissed that idol. So Elijah left that place and went to find Elisha, son of Shaphat. Elisha was plowing 12 acres of land and was working on the last acre when Elijah came. Elijah went to Elisha and put his coat on Elisha. Elisha immediately left his oxen and ran after Elijah. Elisha said, "Let me kiss my mother and father goodbye, then I will follow you." Elijah answered, "You can do that. I will not stop you." Elisha turned away from him and went back. He killed the oxen and used the yoke for firewood. He boiled the meat, gave it to the people, and they all ate together. Then Elisha went to follow Elijah. He became his helper. All right, so Elijah's not perfect, as we see here in the beginning. Even though God has done great things in front of him, through him, he's still afraid of death. Jezebel threatens to kill him, so he runs away. He wants to die. He just can't take it anymore. It's just been too much with the rain and the famine and this, the sorrow that comes from the brokenness of the nation. He just couldn't take it anymore, and he wanted to die, but the Lord wouldn't let him. Then we see how the Lord passes him by. And we always think of God as this great, mighty being with an insurmountable power. And then we see the wind that breaks the mountains apart, the earthquake that shakes the ground, and this fire that burns everything. But none of those were God. A lot of times God doesn't make himself known in such great ways. Especially in our lives today, God makes himself known through the quiet voice, through the whisper in our minds. When we feel doubt, when we feel scared, when we feel lonely, unloved, there's that voice that says, "You're not alone. You are loved. You are safe. I am here. I am with you. Follow me." That's the voice of God, that little voice that we sometimes take for granted, that little voice that pushes out all the lies that we tell ourselves, the lies that the world tells us, that little voice that is the voice of reason. That's God. Okay, so listen to that voice, that little voice. That little voice was enough to make Elijah cower and cover his face because he knew that was the Lord. Okay, Lord doesn't have to be this great big power. He can be this little thing in our lives too. Faith from a mustard seed can move mountains. Okay, so just remember that God isn't always so overt. It's sometimes just that little voice in our heads that tells us it's going to be okay. That's all for today. We'll pick it up there tomorrow. Thank you again for joining me. I sure do appreciate it, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.